Today on the Hangout, JV goes for the big double-double. Raps get the win in Nolans. In honor of International Women's Day, we talk about Candace Wiggins' comments towards the WNBA and break down the big baller brand, LeVar and his boys, here on Hangout. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, basketball fans of all ages, welcome into Canada's home for talking hoops. This is the Hangout. I am Akil Augustine, and today, well, actually not today, yesterday was International Women's Day, and in honor of that, we have an all-female panel, of course, excluding myself. I'm the lone male here on set, but I got some of my favorite ladies to join in. So first and foremost, Kayla Marie, one of the weekend breakfast show hosts with CP24, and a veteran of the couches, so thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me back. You did good on your word.
Yes, I honored my word. Also, I'll be asking all of you how you celebrated International Women's Day in a second. But first off, I've got to introduce Kelsey, a new member to the family, and also one of the broadcasters for the A's out in Orangeville. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And the vet of the group,
It's been a while.
TSN's very own Kayla Gray. Thank you for coming out.
Thank for having me, guys.
I'll start with you and I'll work my way back down the couch. How did you celebrate International
I was
Women's
at
Day?
work, and I think that it was perfect because, you know, we work in male-dominated fields, so to be at work was something that I was very proud of and I took pride in, and yeah, I smiled a little bit more when I went to work that day.
Kelsey, for you?
There was no games for me to work yesterday, so I got the day off, but I did have a chance to take my mama bear out for dinner. Thanks, Mom.
That's as much as you can do, of course. And Kayla?
Same as Kayla. I was at work as well. But yeah, as she mentioned, I was surrounded by all the other women, you know, at our station at CP24 that I look up to, that I respect and admire. So yesterday was a great way to celebrate International Women's Day.
Well, I thank all of you for coming in and sharing your voice with me today on the show. Now, lend your voices to the case for the Toronto Raptors. Time to round up these Raptors. And let's face it, the loss against Milwaukee had everyone a little bit shook. The Toronto Raptors got back on the floor in New Orleans, got a huge performance from JV, and got the win. So, now looking back, hindsight, Kayla, do you think that Milwaukee game was a blip, or is it something we should be concerned about moving forward with this group?
With this group, there's no blips, okay? You get the L's for a reason. I think one of the main things that stuck out to me in that Milwaukee loss was ball movement, and then they touched on it in the game against the Pelicans. So, I mean, they had the ball moving, and that helped them in terms of defense. And JV in the fourth quarter, JV getting those late fourth quarter minutes, I didn't think that would be a thing, but hey, he definitely, you know, improved. I think it's like his 100th double-double in his career, and he definitely hustled. So I don't think it was a blip. I think it was sort of like this is what you need to work on, and they worked on in the next game, and yeah, that's why they were successful.
Were you guys worried at all after that performance last Sunday? Because, you know, Ibaka, Tucker, all participating, contributing. Jonas was still on the bench. You thought the team had enough to get past a Milwaukee team that did not have Jabari Parker or Michael Beasley. Kayla, I'll go to you.
Right. Well, no, I think that we have reason to be worried just a tad bit. But at the same time, you got to remember that chemistry takes time. And then I think showing how we performed against New Orleans, we're showing that chemistry is slowly starting to be put together. And, you know, PJ Tucker, he mentioned that in the postgame, you know, that it felt better. And so we got to give this team a little time to grow and adapt, specifically because we've lost some key players right now. And the team is still figuring out how to find their identity without the likes of Lowry and right now with DeMar Carroll.
Kelsey, you feel the same way?
I feel like this is not a good thing.
No.
I feel like Milwaukee, yeah, bad game. Yesterday, decent game, we'll say, from New Orleans.
They got the W.
They got the W, which is fine. But I mean, when outsiders, maybe not Toronto fans, look at Toronto, they think DeRozan and Lowry.
Yep.
Now Lowry's out. And I kind of always think about this one line. I'm like, this is going to sound really silly, but what's Batman without Robin? These two are the guys that their whole offense is kind of predicated around these two guys hitting tough shots, and now one of them is out. I mean, they didn't win a game with Lowry out when DeRozan didn't hit 30 points, other than yesterday. But, I mean, Jonas stepped up.
Yeah.
Oh, they're slowly trending upwards, yeah?
Only thing I could say, though, to that is Batman and Robin are definitely key. But you got to think, like, when Robin is out, you know, do we just tuck our tails in and walk away? You know, I think our team, you know, between Coach Casey and Masai Ujiri, like, they have put together these pieces to create this team that can potentially contend for an Eastern Conference final. At least that's the hope.
Okay, you touch on that, potentially contending for an Eastern Conference final. There's 18 games remaining in the season. 7 of those games are against teams above 500. So the question here is, do you think that this group can hold on to a top 3 seed without, I don't know, is it Batman or is it Robin, Kyle Lowry, however you define it, but do you think they can hold on to that seed, Kelsey?
Can I be the bad guy again?
You can be the bad guy as much as you want. It's usually
They're in 4th right now, and I think Atlanta has the ability to bring it over them. They have a game against them tomorrow that could be a whole game switch, like a whole game swing, and they're only 3 games behind.
You're not worried about 3rd or 4th. You're thinking 5th.
I'm like, stay in 5th, guys.
Really?
See, I think that tomorrow is actually going to be a really big game, too, because that could potentially be that 3-4 there that we're seeing in the first round with the Raptors and Atlanta. You know what? Top 3 right now is really... That's
a wish. It's wishful thinking.
It's wishful
Really
thinking.
is wishful thinking at this point. So the reality of it is, okay, how do we maintain at this point, right, with the last 6 weeks left in the regular season? And the reality of it is we have to think, okay, if we don't get top 3, how are we going to adjust and prepare for potentially, if we get out of the first round first, and then prepare for Cleveland?
And she touches on it because I think with these last games on the schedule, what you're trying to do is get a system together that will work for the playoffs. Right now, seeding, sorry.
No, I would say, speaking of a system that works, JV, huge night last night, a guy who doesn't see 4th quarter minutes.
Right.
What's his role with this group moving forward?
I thought his role was going to change a little bit in terms of what we saw. I think the first game out when they had PJ Tucker and Serge Ibaka, he only played 18 minutes in that game. So I thought that was where the team was trending. But when you have big matchups in terms of marquee matchups against guys like Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, is when I thought that was his opportunity to really shine and prove himself. And
There's only like 3 teams with bigs, though.
But and that's the thing. You can't. But when you're looking at other teams in the East now, you're not going to have that opportunity. So I think when JV, with his role now, and I think he has a huge sense of it, you hear in his post-game comments, when Casey calls me, I will be ready.
Yes.
Is
It's
he
rare
knows,
that he gets called, though.
And it's rare that he gets called, but he knows once he's like, all right, let's go.
And now
He's
with
gonna
all
be
of
ready to
the
go.
changes that this team is seeing, you know, depending on, we've gotten so used to seeing JV in this one particular role,
Right.
you know, down this last stretch where we're missing key players, his role may have to switch. It's going to have to alternate just a tad bit. And I think by the sounds of his post-game last night, he was ready. He was fired up. He liked seeing the 4th. So let's see how he kind of develops and with more 4th quarter appearances.
All right, well, with that said, we got to go to break. Still more to come here on this very special International Women's Day flavored episode of The Hangout. When we return, Candace Wiggins had some choice words in an editorial she wrote about the WNBA, about inclusion. We will break that down when we return here on Hangout.